There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of the Tom Talks podcast. It's your boy, the one and only Tom Rook. And before I know this is mostly a sports channel and specifically an NFL channel, but there's something crazy that I feel like we need to talk about. We need to address. This is a very hot topic going on right now. This G4 woman is this G4 woman's Frost, I believe her name is, has this crazy meltdown. But so let's just give a little backstory real quick. I didn't watch about G4. I didn't watch G4 growing up. Not a lot of it. My buddy, one of my best friends, did though, so I should ask his opinion on this, on G4 in general. So apparently, they made a comeback. The only reason I heard about this comeback was because the completionist, Gerard, he's someone I watch a lot. I watch his completionist videos. I think he's very good at what he does. I like his content. I respect what he does. So, and hearing about that, I was hoping, hey, I hope G4 does well. I hope, because like I said, I like Gerard. I support the guy, support what he does. But then this video happens. So let's just, I know most of you probably know by now what happened, but let's just go over it real quick. I'll pause in between just to give my thoughts on the whole thing. So let's just start from the beginning. She talks about Red Dead Online a little bit first, but then now she gets into it. This is the part where she gets into her whole rant. So let's stop right here for a moment, and basically, what I'm hearing is that she is very insecure about who she is. I mean, I don't blame her. Honestly, this Frost person, she looks like Machine Gun Kelly transitioned to a woman. I mean, I hate to be mean, but you're thin skin and you're clearly showing it with this rant. You shouldn't read the chat because people online, internet haters are everywhere all the time. I haven't seen much. I mean, I'm a small guy. I have a small platform, small YouTube channel. No one really subscribes. No one really talks about me. But I'm sure that I'm sure there's a couple people who have seen my videos. They probably say shit like, "Oh, he's ugly. He's this. He's that." Da 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 da. It's the internet. I'm not gonna waste my time with haters. Excuse me. I'm not gonna waste my time with haters on the internet. She is very concerned about that because Morgan Webb and Olivia Munn, the previous two hosts who are on this channel of X Play, who are on this show, were very hot. I've seen the clips. They were they're very pretty, and more importantly, they were very entertaining. And what I've seen from those clips, they were very, I guess I wouldn't say knowledgeable. They were at least passionate. At least they cared about what they talk about. I'm not saying I'm not saying she isn't passionate about video games. I don't know much about her. This is the first time I've heard about this woman, but she's very thin skinned. And let's just go back. Let's go back to see what this guy says. Just listen to his reaction. I found it hilarious. Just listen to him real quick. Homeboy just hyped up this Frost woman because she's ugly. Like, dude, what are you doing? And there's Gerard. He's like, what the fuck is going on right now? I didn't want this to happen. Like I said, I feel bad for him because I like the guy. I love Gerard. I love his videos. I love what he does. But this is just This is a crazy situation, but let's just keep going. That's the only thing I agree with her on that. Us guys, we should not say, "Oh, I used to jerk off to you as a woman, jerk off to you because you're so hot." That I can agree with her. That was really fucking weird. But yeah, let's go back a little bit. I agree with her on that. I will say that. That's the only compliment she. That's the only thing I'm gonna agree with this person on. That you that I wouldn't say dehumanizing, but it is weird as shit. Again, that's her insecurity showing. Morgan Webb and Olivia Munn. Yes, women don't exist to be nice on the eyes for us, but it definitely helps. There is a pretty person privilege out there. Pretty women, pretty girl privilege, hot, sexy guy privilege. No matter who, sex sells. So no matter what you think of them, they are gorgeous. Those two women are gorgeous women, and it definitely helped their program because they are more hot than you are. You MGK lookalike. I don't know what she's talking about this thorn person, but that's not the point of That's not the point of this topic. So let's just keep continuing. I would agree with you, but it's 2022. People like Skill Up and Angry Joe do a great job of reviewing, and for what I've seen, those two do the majority of the work by themselves. I know Angry Joe has other Joe and I forget what the other guy's name is. I'm blanking, but Alex, yeah, that's his name. So those two are part of the show, but he doesn't do. But I know Angry Joe does all the editing. He does the filming, the editing. Angry Joe does a lot of stuff. You may need to you may some people may disagree with him on his politics, his ranting on that subject, but he's pretty damn good when it comes to video game reviewing, and I respect him for it. He does great skits, great content. He knows what he's talking about. But yeah, I would like sometimes there are a team of people like I mentioned earlier. Gerard, he has like a team of people. I guess that help him out when he comes to his review. Some people film, they edit, they write the scripts. But yeah, but I think it's mostly coming from his thoughts. Maybe he's one of those people. He writes out a basic script. People edit the script to make it sound better or whatever. But yeah, anyway, that just because you're a woman doesn't mean life is hard for you. It's the internet. The internet makes fun of everybody. Look at him clap. Look at Adam clap. I'll get to him in a minute, but he's clapping like a goddamn seal for us. Where he's like, looking like a goddamn seal. I find that fucking hilarious. I'd say it's all right. I give her that. That's a pretty fair point. She does receive. some privilege because she's a woman. She receives some hate because she's a woman. But anyway, but let's just continue. That's a you problem right there. Like I explained, that's all insecurity. You reading comments that are ruining your day. That's a you problem, not the audience problem. That's a you problem. Grow thicker skin. It's the internet. And now G4 is defending all of this, and they are alienating their audiences, and they are losing subscribers left and right. And yeah, that's it. That when people generally say if you don't like our show, don't watch, or if you don't like our game, don't buy, whatever. If you don't like X product, don't buy it. People are not going to buy your product. I don't know why these people think the other way. Like you try to you're trying to what's the word? Cater to a group of people who don't give a shit about sexism and politics and all that real world shit when it comes to video games. If they will these it just seems like these people will never learn. I don't understand why. But so yeah, after that, let me hit this dislike button real quick. Unfortunately, YouTube's been a bunch of pussies and trying to hide all this shit. So, but I think I saw a couple other people cover this, and they must have like a thing for Chrome that shows that shows the dislike but ratio. I think it was like 18,000 people disliking this to the 2.5 thousand. So, lessons that can be learned here: grow thicker skin on the internet. If you're that insecure about yourself, don't be on it. And more importantly, shit, I forgot what the other lesson. Oh, never alienate your audience. That's what it was. Had to pause. Never alienate your audience, no matter what your beliefs are, what your politics are, just whatever your morals are. You should accept all your fans, no matter what difference of opinions you may have. So now their audience is completely alienated because of this chick right here, and apparently Adam Sessler, which I don't have the articles up, but apparently he said some tweets saying, "Oh, I hate all Republicans, and I want all my Republican family members to die," which that just makes him look like a shithole person. And like I said, I feel bad for Gerard, the completionist. I like this guy. I like what he does. But yeah, it's just he's on a he's just dealing with all this bullshit backlash, and feel bad for the guy. I'm still going to continue to watch his channel, The Completionist, whatever videos he puts up. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the whole situation. So let's move on to what I'm better. I want to expand more into like culture topics when it comes to it comes to the internet, comes to my show. But let's get on with the sports. We have Black Monday is usually the day after the NFL, after the regular season. Coaches get let go usually on Monday, but there are a few exceptions. Joe Judge got fired on Tuesday, and Dave Coley, unfortunately, he got fired on yesterday for the former Texans head coach. So this CBS article is ranking, giving their opinions on what the best head coaching jobs are. So let's find out from first to worst. I mean, Vegas Raiders, the Raiders are number one according to this guy, even though Rich Bisaccia is still the coach. I still don't know how to say his last name. I think it's Bisaccio, but they shouldn't be on this list on a technicality because of the intern coach. But I can see why this place would be attractive. I think the Vegas loses their attraction if Derek Carr is not on this team anymore because he's been the only constant. He's literally the reason why they are in the playoffs right now. Derek Carr is the reason why the Raiders are in the playoffs. And we'll go over that Week 18 game real quick. Sometime after this, that was probably one of the best regular season games I've ever seen. But yeah, so they've got a lot going on. Let's see. I didn't know this. Making a change at GM. I didn't know that. Oh shit, that's something new to me. Huh. The Broncos are number 2. I mean, I can see why. Broncos have one of the most talented. They have the most talented roster for a losing team. Oh, excuse me. They're literally a cornerback away. Quarterback. Excuse me. They're a quarterback away from being a Super Bowl contender. If they somehow go out and get Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, they are automatically in Super Bowl contention because they got really good weapons. They got Noah Fant, I like as a tight end. Tim Patrick is a very solid receiver. He's not. I don't know if he's the best. They have also Jerry Jeudy, who's someone I liked from coming out of college from Alabama. That football program is just fucking producing stars left and right. The only thing I think the only thing they would really need to address other than quarterback is the offensive line. Even though it is solid, I think they need another tackle. Their defense is very good. They have a great linebacker core, great defensive backs. The only issue, and they're most likely to go under new ownership. The only question is who is going to be the new owner. I've heard rumors of John Elway and Peyton Manning are both fighting each other for the ownership. I don't know how that works. I don't know how I'm trying to figure out how that would work to bid to buy a team in the NFL. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Miami, they think Miami's number 3. So yeah, fortunately, Brian Flores got let go after having a 7-game losing streak and also having a 7-game winning streak in the same season, which is the first time to have ever done that. A team has ever done that. But supposedly, the reason why they let go of Brian Flores was because the GM has a lot of power there. And more importantly, Brian Flores is not a fan of Tua. He showed improvement, but he got injured again. And then Jalen Waddle's a great weapon down in Florida, but their offensive line sucks. They need to build that offensive line up from the ground up once again. That's the only way this team is going to be somewhat competitive in a division where you have Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. They had one down year last year, but they're back in the playoffs this year with a rookie quarterback. And the Buffalo Bills, who are back-to-back AFC East champs with Josh Allen there for the next. He signed that deal this year, so at least another 6-7 years. So Miami will be an interesting place. I'm curious to see who they're going to hire. And these two teams, the Bears and the Vikings, they both let go of their head coaches, which is not really surprising. Both of them have very interesting openings. Both don't have a head coach or GM, so I'm curious to see which direction they go. They have Chicago over Minnesota, but honestly, I would flip them because I think Minnesota has a much better roster. Kirk Cousins is a more established quarterback. They have great playmakers on defense. But I can see why Chicago would be a good pick. They are the number 3 most popular city, or at least most populated city in the United States, or it's like I think it's in the top 5. I don't remember. They have a quarterback in Justin Fields. He doesn't have he had his struggles this year, but he had flashes where he was really good. I think Justin Fields can be a guy if they have the right coach and if they hire the right head coach. Now the question is who they hire. I don't know. Supposedly Doug Peterson, my boy, the only coach who's won a Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles. He's supposedly hired. They supposedly had an interview with him. He interviewed with the Bears. He also interviewed with Jacksonville as well. I think Jacksonville should be more of an interesting place to go than these teams, but that's just my opinion. It's just one guy's opinion. But the only downside for Chicago is they don't have a first round pick this year. And yeah, like I said, Minnesota, they're stuck with Kirk Cousins for at least the next year, but they do have stars like Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, and Dalvin Cook. And the only real question is this division can be really interesting if Aaron Rodgers decides to leave, or if the Packers trade Aaron Rodgers, which I don't know if they will. I think it really depends on what happens with in these playoffs. If he wins them the Super Bowl, he might just say fuck it and just retire. If he loses the NFC Championship game again for the 5th time in his career, he might just say fuck it and just go to another team. He might retire. I don't know. We'll have to wait to see with these two teams. The Giants. I was hoping the reports saying that Joe Judge was going to stay, but apparently they were wrong. As an Eagles fan, I was hoping they would keep Joe Judge because he's such a shitty head coach. Too much of a Bill Belichick wannabe. And Dave Gettleman retire, so they're in shambles right now. They're sort of in a shithole right now. And this would be a bad first head coaching job for a coach. They should look for a veteran who's been a head coach before. I mean, they have. I'll give them the Giants this. They have talented players, but they need. Oh, apparently they need to trim $16 million just to be in the clear. So they've got a lot of questions, especially at Daniel Jones. He's not a guy. The experiment has been over since since after that second year. He just turns the ball over too much. He's a backup at best. So the Giants are going to need to find another quarterback, and supposedly there's no good quarterbacks in this draft. So they'll either try to trade for someone big like Russell Wilson, which is been rumored, but I don't think it's going to happen. But yeah, we'll see. Jacksonville, I think he has Jacksonville way too low. I think they're a very interesting organization, just because of Trevor Lawrence mostly. He's a great young talent who, unfortunately, he got fucked over this first year. I want Trevor Lawrence to be successful just because I just think someone like that, like a once in a generational talent. He was like just people like quarterbacks like Andrew Luck and John Elway and Peyton Manning. Those are probably the last like 3 guys that I could think of that a lot of people need to say, oh, this is a surefire first round pick, surefire Hall of Famer guys. But they did beat the Indianapolis Colts in weeks 18. We'll go over that in a little bit. But their fans dressed up like clowns, which was hilarious because they decided to keep their GM. After firing their head coach, they didn't sign up to fire the GM, which I agree. Balky is not a good GM. He has problems in San Francisco during that 3 years where Jim Harbaugh was the coach. He might be in the mix for this job. I don't know. Who knows? Supposedly he's in the mix for Chicago's job as well. We'll find out. We'll find out more a little soon. And last but not least, the Houston Texans. They fucked over David Culley. It seems like everyone on Twitter agrees that David Culley got fucked. He was there for only 1 year. They did I wouldn't say 4-13. It's sort of like a Dan Campbell situation. Like, yes, they didn't do well record-wise, but the players love to play for him. So they have But I think the only reason they fired David Culley is because to go after Brian Flores. And if Brian Flores is hired as the head coach, I think Deshaun Watson will come back to play for the Houston Texans. But we don't know about his legal situation. It still seems like he's still stuck in that legal, with all the legal situation going on. We don't know what's going on with that right now. It seems to have stopped. But we'll see. I haven't heard anything about the Deshaun Watson's legal situation. He's still untouchable because of it. So yeah, that's basically right now summed up of the Black Week. I'll call it Black Week, really, even though it's Black Monday, one on Tuesday, and then one on Friday. I mean, not Friday, yesterday. Sorry, today is Friday. Jesus Christ, I get my days mixed up. That's what alcohol does to you. Anyway, let's go over Week 18, the first ever Week 18 in NFL history. I'm probably gonna say no, not in NFL history. I just saw something. I saw a YouTube video recently. It was NFL Throwback, 1993. They had 18 weeks, but teams had 2 bye weeks, which is pretty crazy. But anyway, I digress. Broncos struggled to get. Excuse me, Chiefs. Jesus Christ, the Chiefs struggled against the Broncos a little bit. It was a good game. It was a pretty good back and forth game with Drew Lock in there. Even though I don't think Drew Lock is a guy at all, Teddy Bridgewater is much better than him. But to be fair, Drew Lock played his little heart out. He did the best that he could, but again, he's not a guy. Chiefs got lucky because they forced a fumble on a missed assignment. That was the only play they got lucky on, and otherwise they would have lost that game. They were trying to play for the number 1 seed, hoping Tennessee would lose, but we'll go over that. So they played, and like I said, we'll go over the next week soon. So another right here, my Eagles playing in a meaningless game against Dallas. They played all their backups because they had all the offensive stars were on. Most of the offensive stars were on COVID. Some of the defensive stars were on COVID protocols. And we actually kept up. We did a pretty good job in the first half, keeping up with Dallas in the first half. And then after the second half, they just got away. We rested Hurts. Minshew played the whole game. So I'm curious to see. I'm just happy to be in the playoffs. That's all. That's my perspective on it. But I'll dive deep more into that in a little bit. Let's go to the rest of them. Lions beat the Packers 37-30. I didn't really see the highlights for this game, but I think the most important thing for Green Bay is that David Bakhtiari played about 20 snaps, and they say he looks good. He said he's getting some rest this week because of the bye week. Going to play a little more. Going to play the first playoff game. And then here it is. Oh, my Lord. Oh, my goodness. The impossible happened. The Jacksonville Jaguars beat the Indianapolis Colts. Oh, Carson. Listen, I have a confession to make. I am still a Carson guy. I like Carson Wentz a lot. And maybe that is a little bit of a bias. Because he helped us win our first Super Bowl. But I have to accept the reality that he's just average. Like, he's not a guy. He's not the guy. He is a guy. And it sucks to say. Because 2017 is such an outlet now. It's not that he did bad in 2018 and 19. Like, those 2 years were pretty good. 2019, he literally carried the team on his back to the playoffs. Carson Wentz was the only reason we made the playoffs that year, even though he got hurt in that second drive of the game, or like the third play. I forget when he got hurt, but he got hurt in that game against the Seahawks, which no one wants to talk about. That Jadeveon Clowney freaking spears him in the head and gives him a concussion. No one wants to talk about that whatsoever. But hey, he did not play a good game. The Colts overall did not play a good game against the Jags. They would have been in the playoffs if they beat them. They're winning in. And they probably would have been in the playoffs if they beat the Vegas Raiders last week. But It happens. We'll see. There are a lot of rumors, a lot of speculations that Carson is not the guy in Indianapolis anymore. We'll find out. We'll watch this story develop. Washington beats the Giants. No one cares about that. Vikings beat the Bears. No one cares about that. Those two coaches and GMs are out of there. Titans beat the Texans. Titans are the number one seed in the AFC, which is honestly, Vrabel should be coach of the year because of it. The Titans were beaten down. There are a lot of I think they had the most players on IR this year. And they lost their best player in Derrick Henry for 2 months because of a foot injury. Despite all that, the Titans are the number one seed in the AFC, which is very surprising. I hope they do. I just hope they win some. I hope they win a game. I hope they make the AFC Championship, but we'll see. Excuse me. Steelers and Ravens. Steelers, Big Ben's last regular season game, comes back, puts the Steelers into an overtime situation. TJ Watt ties the NFL record for sacks in a season. And he's only played 15 games this year. He was out for 2 games. So, unfortunately, because the one play, they called the one play a botched play. And that didn't count for him as a sack, which is bullshit. He should have had that record, but he'll get it. He'll probably get it next year, and he's most likely going to win Defensive Player of the Year no matter what. Unless the voters are keep sucking Dallas dick for Micah Parsons, but he's going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year, but I don't know about Defensive Player, but we'll see. Browns beat the Bengals in a meaningless game. Cincinnati rested all their starters. They rested Joe Burrow and the receivers in the offense. Now this game, Niners, this was a win and in game for San Francisco. This was such a competitive game for them. Now the 49ers are probably I would argue that the 49ers are the most dangerous team in the NFC right now. And unfortunately, yes, they are the most dangerous team in the NFC. Jimmy G, even though he didn't play his best game, he played his best when it counted. So did the running game. So did my boy. I love Deebo Samuel, man. Deebo Samuel is a fucking animal. So is Brandon Ayuk. Those two receivers are fucking animals. And if they can establish a great running game against Dallas, they're going to kick their ass, I think. And their defense flies around. Tampa Bay beats Carolina in the meaningless game. They're number 2 seed. Seattle beats Arizona in a somewhat meaningless game. Dolphins beat the Patriots. They lost that game. Now the Bills clinch the AFC East. Saints beat the Falcons. If the Saints won, and if the Rams came back to beat the Niners, the Saints would have been in the playoffs. The Eagles would be facing the Cowboys, but luckily San Fran won. Bills beat the Jets. They won the AFC East for the second year in a row. And the best way the NFL could have hoped for to end the regular season of 2021. 35-32, Las Vegas Raiders. My favorite thing about this whole game is that if they tied, which was a real possibility, if these two teams tied, both these teams would be in the playoffs. Chargers would be playing the Bills, and the Raiders would be playing the Chiefs, which would have been hilarious to see these two teams tie and kick out Pittsburgh. I would have loved that forever. But this game ended perfectly. Raiders had the lead late, but Justin Herbert leads the Chargers down the field, scores a last-second touchdown, ties the game at 29. Then overtime happens. I believe, Vegas gets the ball first. They kick a field goal to tie. Chargers come back. They kick a field goal. No. Raiders get the ball first in overtime. They kick a field goal, 32-29. Chargers drive down back down the field. They tie the game at 32. There wasn't much time left. Vegas was running the clock down. I think the LA Chargers should have let the clock keep running because that would have ended up resulting in a tie. But Brandon Staley called a timeout. Brandon Staley got roasted for this game with some of his decisions, and deservedly so. This man went for a 4th and 1 on his own 18 in like the middle of the third quarter. And just common football sense, you just don't fucking do that. Now, that I would say that's the main reason why they lost, but it is a reason, and he deserves to get roasted for it. And Raiders have arguably one of the best kickers in football in Daniel Carlson. Kicked the game winner, last seconds of overtime. Raiders won. They're in the playoffs. I'm looking forward to their playoff game. And let's go over. Let's end this with this super wild card weekend. Unfortunately, my issue with super wild card weekend now is they have a game on Monday, which I honestly despise. Come on. There we go. But NBC first game is the Las Vegas Raiders at the Cincinnati Bengals. This is a very excuse me, Jesus, Lord Almighty, hold on. This game is very interesting to me, in my opinion, because both these teams are very good offensive. They're about even offensively. I think Cincinnati has a lot more firepower on offense, but their offensive line is not that good. And the key factor of this game will be Max Crosby, the defensive end. He was a game wrecker against the Chargers, against that right tackle, who I believe he was a backup. I believe he just caused havoc. He had pressured. He got a couple sacks on Justin Herbert. So Max Crosby will literally be the X factor of this game and the Raiders' running game. If they can keep Joe Burrow off the field, they have a legitimate chance of winning. But this one's really tough to pick. I don't know, because I just feel like Cincinnati. I think it's just their time. I think they haven't won a game since, I believe, 1990. They've not won a playoff game since 1990. But so I just think it's time. It's hard to pick, but I think it's Cincinnati's time to win. I don't know what the scores will be, but I think it's gonna be close. This game is also very interesting. So I'm gonna rank. Rich Eisen did a ranking. He ranked our game last, but let's go. We'll do that. We'll rank them later. Bills and Patriots. I don't think these two teams have met in the playoffs before. I don't know. Actually, let's look that up. Hold on. Let's look that up real quick. Let's go to Google. Let's look this up. Bills versus Patriots playoff history. Actually, hold on. Not that article. Oh, come on. What are we doing? There we go. Let's look at this. Two original AFL franchises for the 60 years. Only one time in a playoff setting. Early days of the American Football Conference. Early 1990s. Patriots were among the worst franchises in the NFL. Mid 90s became Super Bowl dominant for the past 2 decades. AFL days 1963. So I guess that was the only time they've met in the playoffs. John F. Kennedy was the president. Beatles were soon to step on the American soil. The Boston Patriots played at Fenway Park. First playoff game in AFL history, where the winner met the San Diego Chargers, the AFL Championship. Buffalo Wars Memorial Stadium, which only the Bills held home field advantage, 60-72. The Natural. Who won this game? Let's find out. Sorry. Patriots won 26-8 with Gino Capeletta kicking 4 field goals. All right. So that's good to know. They've only met one time in the playoffs. This is a tough game to pick, too. Again, this is another tough game to pick. It's a divisional game. There's not much history playoff-wise, but history overall. The past 2 decades, Patriots have dominated the Bills because of one Tom Brady. I don't know, man. They drew even this year, 1-1. It's gonna be another cold game. I don't know. I feel like it's gonna be a low scoring, ugly ass game, but I think the Bills will pull it off. I think it'll be a last second field goal. The Buffalo Bills will pull off this win. I don't know the betting odds right now, but yeah, we'll see. Then our let's talk about our game. The Eagles are going to Tampa Bay for the first round. Look, I'm just gonna say this right off the bat. I don't expect us to win. I'm picking the Bucks to win, even though they are very injured, very they're depleted. They're very depleted player wise. It's supposed to be really shitty weather, and even though they're the best run defense in the NFL, we are the number one rushing offense. So I feel like it really depends on if Tampa Bay can somehow stop the run. Because I feel like there's going to be a lot of Jalen Hurts' legs are going to be the number one X factor in this game. If Jalen Hurts if Jalen Hurts can get like 150 rushing yards, I feel like we have a really great chance to win. But despite Tampa Bay being injured, and despite us being our first year with Nick Sirianni, first year with Jalen Hurts as starting quarterback, playoff Tom Brady is another animal. I feel like Tom Brady can overcome this injury-riddled Tampa Bay team and lead them to victory. I'm sorry. I hate to say it. Honestly, I hope the Eagles win. I just feel like the Buccaneers are just a better overall team. And I just don't feel like they have that much chance for us to be upset them. Although, if we did, us Eagle fans will be more unbearable than you can ever imagine. Oh my goodness. And we have 3 first round picks this year. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. And now this next game, arguably the game that has the most historical background when it comes to these two teams, especially in the playoffs. The San Francisco 49ers and Dallas Cowboys. I think a lot of, I know it's not a very popular opinion, but I think the 49ers will upset the Dallas Cowboys. Even though Dallas is favorite, these two teams have great history. San Francisco, I just feel like San Francisco can run the ball on Dallas. If we can run the ball on Dallas like we did with our backups, San Francisco can run the ball easily against their starters. If they get 200 rushing yards, that's San Francisco's game. And I know there's a different era, this different aura with Dallas, and I know they've got their defense greatly improved this year with Micah Parsons, with Trayvon Diggs getting 11 picks. But I just feel like Jimmy Garoppolo can manage the game well enough for San Francisco to win. And adds another great game to the chapter of Dallas San Francisco playoffs. And now this case, Steelers and Chiefs, I feel like this is my least anticipated game. I know Kansas City is not perfect. Mahomes has not been that great this year. He's had somewhat of a down year. But I still feel like the Chiefs kicked the Steelers' ass earlier this year. Well, I don't want to say earlier, but like about a month ago. I think it's late November, early December. Like mid to early December. I forget when they played each other, but I just feel like the Chiefs are just going to kick their ass once again. And Big Ben is not going to have that great of a send-off to end his career. And now, this game, I think, is another very interesting game. 2 NFC West teams, another rivalry game. Matthew Stafford throws the ball a lot. He takes a lot of risks. He throws a lot of interceptions. And Arizona as much as Arizona has struggled, they can win this game. So, and I feel like Matthew Stafford has the most pressure on him as an NFL quarterback. Out of all these games, out of all these starting quarterbacks, these two making their first playoff appearances, even though Derek Carr's much older. He missed the game in 2016 against the Texans, or it was 2015, 2016 against the Houston Texans because he broke his leg at the end of the year. These two teams don't have don't really have as much pressure on them. Josh Allen might have a little more than Mac Jones. Mac Jones is a rookie. No one expects him to do that. Like I said, my opinion, I think we're just happy to be in the playoffs to get Jalen Hurts experience. Brady's probably gonna do what he does. Jimmy G's been in the playoffs before. He's made it to the Super Bowl. Dak's 1-2 in the playoffs as a quarterback. And these two are the most experienced quarterbacks. I don't feel like they have that much pressure on them, but ranking like pressure quarterback wise, I think it's Matthew Stafford number 1. I think it's Josh Allen number 2. Even though it's not really that much, it's only more pressure on him because it's the Patriots. If it was the Chargers, it would have been like, all right, he lost to Justin Herbert. Great quarterback, great young quarterback as well. But this is the Patriots. This is a big game for the Bills. They need to clear the hump against New England, who've dominated that division for the last 20 fucking years. And third, I'll probably say I would say Dak. I would say Dak Prescott has a little more pressure on him than Jimmy Garoppolo. Because I feel like San Francisco, they know that this is Jimmy's last year. After this year, they're going to trade him to another team, and they're going to go Trey Lance for the future. Dak Prescott, he signed a big deal after that terrible ankle injury. He led this team to a 12-5 record. He won the NFC East in a relatively easy division. Even because he's 6-0 against the NFC East, and he's barely above 500 against the rest of the NFL. So Dak Prescott has the third most pressure on him. So yeah, let's get back to the prediction of this game. I know I'm like kind of jumping back and forth, but all these thoughts are just coming to me at once. I don't know, dude. JJ Watt's coming back. I don't think they're going to have DeAndre Hopkins until the NFC Championship game. If they make it that far, which I don't know if they will. I don't know, dude. This is really fucking tough. Like, Matt Stafford has to play a perfect fucking game. I feel like that's the only way the Rams win is if Matt Stafford plays a perfect game. And I'm not saying, like, he needs to throw, like, for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. I just mean, by perfect game, I mean not turn the football over. They do have Cam Akers back. They do have they have a really good running game. But Arizona's defense is solid. I think Arizona's going to beat them. I don't know what it is. My gut is telling me Arizona's going to beat the Los Angeles Rams. And unfortunately, this is going to decide Matt Stafford to be. This might make or break him being a Hall of Fame contender. He's probably going to be one of those quarterbacks like Andrew Luck, only because he retired so early. If Andrew Luck was still playing in the NFL, I feel like he would have a better chance to go into the Hall of Fame. But Matt Stafford's been to the playoffs 3 different times. He's 0 for 3. Not necessarily all his fault, but that Lions got screwed against Dallas that year in 2014, but he still lost that game. Unfortunately, I know like wins and losses shouldn't be a quarterback statistic, but that's just how we judge our quarterbacks. It's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. But now before we close, I'm going to rank these games real quick. I think number 6 is Chiefs-Steelers. I think the Chiefs are going to kick the Steelers' ass, unfortunately. Even though I know I'm probably wrong because the Steelers have a really good defense and they might make this game close. But I don't know. Did the Chiefs kick their ass earlier this year? I feel like they'll do the same thing again. Number 5 game will probably be the Eagles against the Bucks because I feel like the Bucks are going to win, but the Eagles still have a slim chance to win. Number 4, I would say it's Cincinnati and Las Vegas, just because they're 2 inexperienced playoff teams. two inexperienced quarterbacks, interim head coach which they may possibly keep him. They might fucking go another way. We don't know yet. And Cincinnati, just because Joe Burrow's first playoff experience, he led this team. Him, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon. They all say Zach Taylor's they saved Zach Taylor's ass because we all thought he wasn't that good of a coach for the first 2 years. And now, number 3. I don't know, dude. I feel like number 3 would be. I feel like number 3 is the Bills and Patriots, just because I don't think there's that much pressure on. Yeah, I mean, yes, obviously Josh Allen should be able to win this game, but it's not going to define his career. I don't think this loss will end his career. When it comes to him being a top 5 quarterback, being in the league right now. And Mac Jones is a young guy, even though the Bills should win this game, but Patriots are good. The Bill Belichick's experience, he's the GOAT. There's a possibility that he can beat the Bills. This is my number 2 game, Rams and Cardinals, just because so much pressure on Matt Stafford. Arizona's playing with house money. If they win this game, Cliff Kingsbury is going to keep his job. I don't think he should be on the hot seat for this year, but the way they ended does lead to have some questions about his coaching. I don't know if it's strictly a coaching thing. I don't know if it's. They did have some injuries pile up, but. This is my number 2 game of the weekend, and the number 1 obviously is Dallas and San Francisco. As much as I despise the Dallas Cowboys, these two teams have a great history in the playoffs against each other. From Joe Montana's first postseason with the catch, to the battles with the 90s against Jimmy Johnson, Troy Aikman, Steve Young. So yeah, I go 9. Again, to recap, I'm going Bengals, Bills, Bucks. But I think this game will be close. I hope the Eagles win, but I think the Bucks will win. Niners, Chiefs, and Cardinals. So that's it for this episode. I hope I'm 6-0 for these games. Have a great weekend. Let's enjoy this super wild card weekend, even though I think it's stupid as fuck to move a game to Monday night. It's one of the worst decisions they've ever made, but it's got to live with it. Peace out. Have a great night, y'all.